On the 19th of March 2020, the channel Engadget released a video entitled Half-Life Alyx shows Valve's bad attitude. I'm sure I won't be the only person making videos about this, but it feels like a disgustingly inaccurate portrayal of what is happening currently with Valve, the VR space, and Half-Life Alyx. The video starts out talking about Steam and how much it makes every year. Engadget then goes on to mention that Valve's almost unlimited sum of money has given them the ability to make decisions which can seem completely illogical, calling these decisions anti-consumeristic.
With an abundance of resources at its disposal and no stockholders to answer to, Valve routinely operates outside the boundaries of logical consumerism. In fact, many of its decisions are blatantly anti-consumer, flying in the face of what players and developers actually want.
I think we can all agree Valve has had its problems over the past 8 to 9 years. Not releasing any games was of course one that has upset a lot of people, but I wouldn't paint Valve to be a bad company over it, and they certainly seem to be doing a hell of a lot better than a lot of other companies in this industry. Valve certainly has made plenty of mistakes, but with an interview conducted by IGN with Gabe Newell, the co-founder of Valve, Gabe acknowledged the mistakes that his company had made over the past few years, seemed genuinely interested in learning from them to make Valve a better place. Engadget then says that after Valve's writing team left, Valve bought up the Firewatch team, Campo Santo, and then cancelled In the Valley of the Gods.
And when its veteran writing team left, Valve bought Firewatch studio Campo Santo, only to cancel development on its highly anticipated next project, In the Valley of Gods.
This is of course completely untrue. Whilst In the Valley of the Gods is on hold, it is by no means cancelled and is still listed on their website as a game they're working on. Also, I can find nowhere that the Campo Santo team was bought up because of the leaving of some of the writers who worked on the Half-Life series. In the aforementioned interview with Gabe Newell, the acquisition of Campo Santo is brought up, and it was said that Valve just really liked working with the Campo Santo team and thought they could bring a new take to game development. Half-Life Alyx then being brought up as the prime example of Valve's bad attitude is just completely wrong, and is actually most likely considered the complete opposite of what Engadget are describing. They bring up the point that people are getting excited over a game they didn't want, and that it's VR only.
Half-Life Alyx isn't Half-Life Episode 3. Instead, Alyx is a prequel, set between the events of Half-Life and Half-Life 2. Oh, and it's only playable on VR platforms. And it'll work best on the Index, Valve's proprietary VR headset that costs $1,000.
At Half-Life Alyx's first announcement, I was incredibly amazed at the lack of hate towards the fact that Half-Life Alyx is VR only, and I think Valve were too, which is shown by the stock shortages of the Valve Index. Engadget then says that the game will work best on the Valve Index. Now this is of course probably going to be true. It was designed with the Index in mind, and especially with the Index controllers. But we know from interviews with Valve they've done extensive testing on many different headsets all across the market to make sure the game is playable in as many places as possible.
Shockingly, this strategy hasn't alienated Valve's fans. In fact, most players are expressing excitement for this VR-only, prohibitively expensive Half-Life prequel. It's being hailed as the software savior of the VR industry, driving an increase in headset sales across the board, but particularly for the Valve Index.
Making the game VR only isn't a bad thing. It would defeat the point if it had a pancake version to it. The Half-Life series has always been about innovation, and this is the next big thing to innovate in, and Valve have been working in the VR space for quite a while now. There is nothing shocking about the hype for Half-Life Alyx. It is, sure, not the game that everyone has been wanting for the past 10 years, but it's still the game that we want. It's a new game set in the Half-Life universe, and according to all reviews and people who have played the game so far, it is absolutely incredible. Being behind the VR paywall, I'm sure doesn't come to a huge surprise and does make sense. I'm almost certain there are many people who played Half-Life and wanted to play Half-Life 2 but had to dish out money to upgrade their computer to be able to run the updated title. The thing is none of what Engadget's saying is a bad thing. VR needs a software title to be as big as Half-Life 2 was back in 2004. Increasing headset sales is also an absolutely incredible thing that Valve have managed to do almost single-handedly. VR most likely is the future to gaming, and if we want to see that future arrive faster, this is the kind of thing we need.
Valve's business-first mentality extends to developers on Steam as well. Early on, Valve established a revenue-sharing model, giving the company 30% of the sales from any game on Steam, leaving developers with a 70% share. And then the Epic Games Store launched in late 2018, offering developers an 88% cut.
Engadget bringing up Steam also doesn't paint Valve as a bad company. And whilst sure, I think Valve will be the first to admit they've made some mistakes with Steam, paid mods, I think most gamers will be happy to say that Steam has been an absolute life changer. It's made the purchasing and distribution of games so much more convenient for so many people. The impact Valve has had on developers when it comes to Steam is also brought up in this argument, and was quite a common talking point a while ago with the launch of the Epic Games Store and the Discord store. Valve may take a bigger cut for developers using Steam, but they do also provide them with a much more feature-rich and convenient platform to use, including chat systems, achievements, DRM, etc. This is where usually I'd intend to write a conclusion, but honestly I think I can just stick up the like to dislike ratio of this video one day after it's released and be done. So thank you very much all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm incredibly excited for Half-Life Alyx's release, so I will see you then.